Hello all. In 22-23, government launched a very interesting mission or a project or a campaign called Mission Life. It is basically lifestyle for environment, and there are certain categories, 7 categories basically of how you can change your lifestyle in a good way so that it is sustainable, it is environment friendly, and it is using the resources in an optimal way. And I feel that it is wonderful, and the suggestive actions which they have listed down is very simple to do, and it's wonderful, and I think everyone should know about it, and there should be more awareness and publicity on this mission life and the sub components of it. So the first theme is basically, there are 7 themes, so I'm gonna make 7 different videos on this mission life and the separate themes. And the first one is basically how to save energy, and there are certain activities which have been suggested, and so that is something which I will discuss in this video, and in the subsequent video the other themes. So the first theme, how do we save energy? Now the first very obvious thing which they have suggested is that use of LED and tube lights. When I was posted as SDO Dadingre, that was in 2017-18, and when I joined I saw that the office still used a lot of old CFLs and old tube lights, older designs, and the electricity bill was huge. And when we replaced all the lights by LED tube lights and LED bulbs, and the bills, the monthly bill came down significantly. This is something which I have followed in all my offices and also at home, and wherever I stayed I changed all the lights, and the bills came down tremendously. So it's something which is very obvious, but so it may cost a lot to change everything, but whenever the possibility is there, or whenever you get a faulty piece, the next time you buy it should be LED. So that is something which is very good suggestion. The number 2 suggestion is that use public transport whenever possible. So this is also a very good point, that a lot of energy is being spent on travels, the fuel being used, and whenever there is a carpooling or a sharing of resources, it's a wonderful way to live. I think whichever cities have started these metros and all, it is saving a lot on energy. Otherwise everyone is going on their individual personal vehicle. So this is something which we have to understand. And in fact, even all these shared taxi models are very good, that in cities and all, these services and apps are so good that more and more people are thinking not to buy vehicles anymore and to use these shared means of public transport. Wherever you have Delhi metro is a fascinating and fabulous example of that mostly all areas you can reach through the metro, and how convenient it is, and it is an excellent example of a public transport system. So that is one. Third point which this mission mentioned is that take the stairs instead of elevator wherever possible. So many times in our work or whenever we are traveling, there's always an option to use the stairs or to use elevators. So wherever is possible, if it's just 2-3 floors, I think we should try to use the stairs and not the lifts or not the elevators, etc. That itself will save a lot of energy. Point number 4, switch off vehicles engine at red light and railway crossings. Now whenever we are traveling by vehicles, we'll come across red lights, we'll come across railway crossings, and we see that there is significant waiting in that. So if the vehicle is still on, then it may take a lot of fuel, and basically it wastes a lot of energy. So we can do that as well. Point number 5 is that use bicycles for local or short commute. Now wherever this is possible, in fact bicycling and walking, like they go together, and wherever it is possible, wherever the weather is good for you for walking or for cycling for smaller distances. I know there is a lot of stuff to be done to facilitate that. We should have good footpaths, we should have a cycling lane, but whenever and wherever it is possible, I think we should go for these methods, saving on fuel, and on top of that, it's a wonderful exercise. So that's a win-win situation for everyone. So we should go with this cycling. Point number 6, switch off irrigation pumps after use. So this is something more relating to agriculture, that we see that wherever there is abundance of water or electricity is free for that matter. We just take it for granted, and we don't save energy. So this is something wherever which is very important, that we switch off these resources whenever the work is done, and we use it optimally, even though it may be available for free or at a very less cost, but the cost to environment is very high. That is what you always have to remember. Number 7 is that prefer CNG electric vehicle over petrol diesel vehicle. Now this is in Delhi, if you have traveled, you must have seen that a lot of CNG vehicles are there, and in fact in Delhi now we see a lot of EVs are there as well. So EV is something, electric vehicles are developing and maturing, and in the future we will see a lot of EVs. But wherever possible, those who have the resources to it, those who can have those recharge stations at home, it's more preferable to use the EV. That's correct. So and on top of that, it's not just 4-wheelers, there's a lot of 2-wheelers which have come, electric vehicles, and they are doing good, and hopefully in the next 10 years I think we'll see a lot of EVs. So point number 8 is use carpooling with friends and colleagues. So this is also very important, that unfortunately one of the components which is seen as success is owning your own car, and after a certain point in job, everyone wants to own their own car, and they go alone in that. So one person instead of a possible 4 or 5. So this leads to traffic. That is one thing, and of course, like in Shillong we face that, and in many cities we face that. But apart from the traffic, I mean, the environmental cost is also huge. So if there are 4 or 5 people, I mean, we can just reduce it by 1/4. So that's the energy, also the usage, and also the pollution. So it's a wonderful idea to carpool with friends and colleagues, even if we are going somewhere else. I mean, if you're going to the same destination, it makes sense to do carpooling and vehicle sharing. So this is point number 8. Point number 9, drive in the correct gear. Keep your foot off the clutch when not changing gears. So this is something for those people who drive, and these are methods not to waste energy and to drive it in the correct gear. So it's an optimal usage of energy and all these things. So this is for all the drivers out here. Number 10 is install a solar water or solar cooker heater on rooftops. Now the solar energy, as we know, that is becoming more and more popular, and it's becoming more and more cheaper. That's a good thing. So here they have suggested to use a solar heater or a solar cooker wherever possible, and you can, in fact, why just a heater or cooker? I mean, you can use solar for literally everything. Now we see a lot of houses which are going completely green and completely off the grid, and some people are even producing more energy and net metering, selling it to the grid and getting benefit out of that. So things are getting evolved, and we see more and more this solar energy is being used. Number 11, switch off appliances when from plug points when not in use. This is something which I have seen a lot in offices, that since in offices we feel that we are not the one paying the bills, so nobody switches off the light. So consciously and deliberately I used to put those signages that switch off the light whenever not in use in offices, and this is which we should do everywhere, offices and homes. Sometimes those if we are wealthy enough to pay the bills, we think that we can just use any amount of energy. But I think even though we are having enough resources to pay the bills, we should conserve electricity and use it to the minimum, because the more we use, the per capita energy consumption increases, and the load on natural resources, because right now also a lot of electricity is being produced at the thermal plants, so which is not great. So the more we reduce the per capita consumption, I think the more we move, and the more dependent we become on renewable sources of energy like solar energy, it will be great. So that was number 11. Number 12 is use biogas for cooking and electricity needs. Now biogas is another factor which is very great, but which is not used. I've seen in many villages they have cows and cattle, but they are not even aware of this biogas, and the whole cow dung and etc. is just getting wasted. They are just throwing it and not using it. So this biogas, wherever it is possible in villages and all where cattle stock is there, I think we should go with this biogas, and it will reduce your consumption on LPG, etc. Number 13 is keep temperature of air conditioners to 24 or above. So basically 24, 25, I mean, if you keep, it's more convenient. And I think that's the most ideal temperature. I mean, it's not too cold, not too hot. It's perfect. Whenever the temperature, natural temperature is around 24, 25, we feel great. So even if you are using, first of all, we should try not to use air conditioning through, various ways. You can always have some kind of a technology to reduce temperatures. We have seen that mud houses or some kind of proper ventilation is there, then there is no dependency on air conditioners. So that's one. But even if you are using it, keep it at 24, 25 so that the energy utilization is optimal. So this was number 13. Number 14 is prefer pressure cookers over other cookware. I mean, this is something which is to reduce the amount of energy required to cook something. So I'm not going very deep into this. Then point number 15 is that keep your electronic devices in energy saving mode. So this is a very small thing that we might not appreciate, that why should we do that. But there are a lot of activities and background activities these days which are going on our electronic devices, even though we are not using it. And if we keep on that low energy mode, then all these activities do not run in the background, and they save a lot of electricity, I mean a lot of power, and it's good for your electronic devices as well, that they will last longer. But in the long run, in the real long run, I think if you have this practice, it will save a lot of energy. So it's a good suggestion. 16, use smart switches for appliances which are used frequently. Now smart switches, yeah, I mean wherever it is possible, these days we are seeing in offices and in good hotels, smart lightings are there, sensor based, that they are on whenever it is actually required, and they automatically switch off wherever they are not required, or whenever nobody is in the room. So that all these kind of smart switches and sensor based technology will help us to save electricity. Now here the question is, I mean, the sensors will also take some kind of power to run, but overall if you see over a long period of time, definitely it saves a lot of energy. So number 17 is that install community earthen pots for cooling water. So this is more basically, maybe perhaps in a close knit community or a rural areas, this will make more sense. And earthen pots, basically instead of using refrigerators, I think it's great, and I think there have been several studies how it shows that the water drinking from those earthen pots is very healthy also. And of course, I mean, water stays cool, and anyway we should not drink too cold of water, which is again suggested by health professionals. So if you use those earthen pots, I think instead of refrigerated water, I think that will also save a lot of energy. Now number 18 is defrost fridge or freezer regularly. Now again, this is a technical suggestion to use the use the fridge at the optimal level. And sometimes, as I said, these appliances, if we just don't pay attention, they waste a lot of energy. And if we use these optimal ways and pathways, I think we can reduce our energy bills as well at home. So number 19 is run outdoors instead of a treadmill. Now this is something which is very good, I feel. And even running in treadmill is so kind of boring also. It's very difficult to run on a treadmill for a long distances, which I have tried in the past, and I always hated running on a treadmill. I'm always up for outdoor running or in a ground. That is the best surface to run. I mean, running on roads also can be a little difficult for some people, but running on ground is the best. So that way, I mean, why to waste energy basically for running when you can run near a ground, on a ground which is good for your feet as well. And we should not waste energies on all these things which we can do out in the environment. I mean, it stops us from going in the environment also, that takes us away from the nature also. So there's a lot of bad impact of treadmill here. So it's a good suggestion. So these 19 suggestions were basically aimed at saving energy. Now, I know you will think that this is a very obvious things, and sometimes we do it, sometimes we don't. But these obvious things, they matter a lot when you do it over a period of time. So basically, if you bring these habits into your routine, I think going forward over a long period of time, you'll ending up saving a lot of energy. And if everyone does it, 1.4 billion people of India, and in fact 8 billion people of the world, they use all these things, I'm sure the per capita energy needs will go down a lot. So these things which are shared in this mission life, this will only work when everyone adopts it, or the majority of the people adopt it. And I personally feel this mission life has amazing ideas, very simple ideas and very fundamental ideas, but potential of making a great impact. So if you have not heard about this mission and this mission life, please read about it or just watch my videos on it, and please share it with everyone. I think if everyone is aware of all these basic things, so we together can make a great impact. So basically, if we can do all these things, I think we can exist in a balance with nature, and this whole idea of sustainable development can be a reality. Thank you for watching, and in the subsequent videos, I'll be talking about the other themes of mission life.